Welcome, dear friends, to a journey through the rugged beauty and proud history of Wales, as we uncover the fascinating world of the Welsh Princes. Long before Wales became part of a united Britain, it was a land of powerful kingdoms, heroic leaders, and fierce independence. The Princes of Wales, such as Llywelyn the Great, Owain Glyndŵr, and Rhodri the Great, were not only warriors but also diplomats, lawgivers, and protectors of Welsh culture and identity. In this program, we'll explore their incredible stories, battles fought against invaders, alliances forged and broken, and the dreams of sovereignty that inspired generations. We'll visit ancient castles, trace historic battlefields, and examine rare documents that bring these legendary figures back to life. What made these leaders so revered? How did they shape the history of Wales, and why does their legacy still stir the hearts of the Welsh people today? Join us as we dive deep into the history of the Welsh Princes, a story of courage, resilience, and the enduring spirit of a nation. This is Time Stream, and our adventure through Welsh history begins now.
My name's David. My full name is David Idris Howells, as a very Welsh middle name. People call me Di. I'm here in Brecon, but I'm not actually from Brecon. I'm from a small village just inland on the West Wales coast near Cardigan, a small village called Pencader. So I was born there in 1961. I am a subject of an English mother and a Welsh father. My mother is actually what they call a Blitz baby, so she was evacuated from London in the Second World War when the Germans were bombing London. And in West Wales, it's one of the two main parts of Wales basically that actually speak Welsh as a community. So you have West Walian Welsh and you have North Walian Welsh. They're both Welsh, but they have got distinct differences. And I always look at North Walian Welsh as really good, pure Welsh, as it's supposed to be spoken. And West Walian Welsh is more of a convenient Welsh. It's not quite so culturally deep. But even so, there are borderlines there. And in Cardigan, the county I'm from, it was a really Welsh-speaking community, so I actually went to school to speak English. Okay, so I went to a general primary school where they were taught us in Welsh and English, but then I went to a secondary school, and that was all the lessons were in Welsh, apart from obviously English. Okay, so but I left home quite early because I joined the military, and I went to the military for 7 years. And after I came out of the military, I came to Brecon then in 1983 as a police officer, and this is where I've been since. Now, for people that don't know Wales, Brecon is on the border counties amongst the old Marcher kingdoms, and basically there's not much Welsh here. There's a strong Welsh community, but you won't hear it spoken generally in the shops or the stores or in the bars or pubs or whatever. Whereas in West Wales it's still so much so, and in North Wales it's very common to hear Welsh being spoken anywhere you go to in the Gwynedd area, especially in the rural communities. And really this has left a mark on me because I've got a deep Welsh accent that people don't normally attribute to me. If I travel abroad, don't attribute me as being from the UK even. Okay, as far as my qualifications are concerned, I've got a history degree, but nothing medieval, specialised in basically the 20th, 21st century. Mainly my speciality was total war and social change from 1950 to 1955. But I've also got a sports science degree, and I'm also a teacher. And for anybody that watches from outside of the UK, teaching in the UK is a bit different to a lot of places. Basically, you have primary teachers, you have secondary teachers, and then you have a post-16 qualification. So I've got the post-16 qualification, so I've used that for my guiding and for teaching Welsh in the local college here. So I've got no speciality as far as history is concerned, because just like you, I like all of it. Okay, I'm particularly interested in Welsh history, but I'm more interested in the history of the British monarchy as a whole, because I'm not a nationalist. I'm not a Welsh nationalist. I'm more I believe in the unification of the UK as it stands at the moment. So I have a great interest in the monarchy as a whole, specifically since my uncle actually taught the Duke of Edinburgh in military college in Dartmouth. But obviously I have a vested interest in the Welsh Princes, and especially here in Brecon, because it's in the centre of the country as such, and it has been a crossover point for the Marcher Lords and all of the Llywelyns, and it's been a centre point really of the history of Wales, and especially in the last 200 years with this cathedral and the connection with the 24th of Foot, which is another story altogether. As far as my interest in sort of the Welsh princes is concerned, I split them up into the pre-Norman princes and the post-Norman princes. So going from the pre-Norman ones, you have Rhodri the Great first. He was the first well-known of the Welsh princes. Then Llywelyn was famed for Llywelyn being da is Welsh for good, and he basically constructed a set of laws that the Welsh communities abided by. And then you had the first of the warrior princes, which is Griffith ap Llywelyn, and then that brought you up then to about 1063, I think. Griffith ap Llywelyn died, and then we had the Norman invasion. So afterwards, with the Norman invasion, it's important really to talk about the effect that the Normans did, because it was more of a laissez-faire sort of set of kingdoms in Wales before the Normans came, but after they came, they had a set structure of dominance. So they basically, William I set about conquering the country, and there's a big impact in Wales because he set up a series of Marcher Lords who were left to rule the Marcher kingdoms along the border of the English-Wales border, and they were left with their own devices really. So they were like mini kingdoms in themselves, and that they didn't have to have any recourse to the English king, and they dominated and subjugated the Welsh warlords as they felt fit. So in essence, it is really due to the new Norman lords that came in, that resistance grew. I can't remember which of the Norman kings actually did away with the laws of Llywelyn, but it happened in about the 12th century, I think, and the first of the resistance fighters then, and the first of the post-Norman great warriors was Llywelyn ap Iorwerth, or Llywelyn the Great. Okay, most of these princes were from North Wales. He came close to unifying the whole country before he was killed, and then in his line, I'm not sure when he actually died, but I think it was about the mid-12th century that there was maybe a single generation before Llywelyn the Last came into being, and he was known as the last, not as a typical warrior as Llywelyn the Great, but he was the last that nearly unified the whole of Wales. And at that time, then of course you had Edward I, so he put the terminology, he put an end to the Welsh resistance by the construction of the great castles of the north, and the initiation of having his firstborn being the Prince of Wales. And it was during what they deemed to be quite a peaceful sort of 90-year period. But there was, in that peaceful 90-year period after Llywelyn the Last, there was a lot of resentment because there was complete dominance of the Welsh culture. There was complete dominance of the Welsh religious structure. In Wales, you had 4 cathedrals. You have St Asaph, St David's, Bangor, and I can't remember the last one. But even in the religious circles, they were completely dominated by the English, that you could not be a Welsh bishop unless you were nominated by the English king. And the Welsh prince would have, the Prince of Wales would receive all the income of the country of Wales, and he monopolised basically the areas around where they built the great castles. So around Beaumaris, Carnarvon, Harlech and Conwy, they became sort of centres of English immigration, where basically the Welsh were subjugated, and that basically initiated a lot of resentment in Wales. And it wasn't until Owain Glyndŵr came along, and as we talked about earlier, Owain Glyndŵr is, in my mind, is like a mini Caesar, because he was well in his 40s or mid-40s before the resentment grew to a point where this man, who was a Welsh prince, who was, well, he wasn't a prince, but he was, he had a fiefdom, and he was comfortable off. He had his children, he had his lands, he had his income. He was very comfortably off before he started amalgamating the resistance and started on his attacks. And then his raids became paramount. He started raiding the English settlements, and in the end, he got international acclaim in that period. In that period, there was, I believe, it was the papal split, where you had a pope in Avignon and the Pope in Rome, and he had the support of the Pope of Avignon. He got international support from France, and he was doing pretty good. And I think he had about 1,500 troops come across from France. He had an army of about 10,000, and this was his final foray into getting a Welsh united country. And what happened was he invaded England at about this point, and he took the army into England and arrived at Worcester, and at a place called Woodbury Hill. And it's not many people know this, but the Battle of Woodbury Hill is a battle that wasn't fought. I don't know if you know that, because basically you had the English camp on one hill and the Welsh camp on the other. But the Welsh camp wasn't capable of being supplied, and the English camp was. So basically, all that happened was Owain Glyndŵr didn't fight, and he just retreated back into Wales, and that was his demise. And this is a part of the myth then of Owain Glyndŵr, because his power base slowly declined. I can't remember exactly, but I think his sons were taken prisoner and kept in the Tower of London. He got his power base slowly diminished by English forays into North Wales, until eventually he was holed up in Harlech Castle. But even Harlech Castle was taken, and the myth of Owain Glyndŵr is nobody knows what happened to him. But there is a famous story about Owain Glyndŵr, and you might want to research this. I don't know if it's true or not. That during his upsurge or his activities, England sent a spy to try and find out where he was. And apparently, Owain Glyndŵr found out about this spy, and he asked this man to go for a walk with him in the gardens. And this man didn't come back. And several hundred years later, or about 2 centuries ago, a tree was found in North Wales, and apparently there was skeletal remains in that tree. And so legend has it that Owain Glyndŵr killed this man and put him in the trunk of a tree, of a hollowed out tree. But that's the myth of Owain Glyndŵr, is that nobody, like with most resistance hierarchies in the world, you know what happened to the leader in the end, but nobody knows. It's the great mystery of Wales, of what happened to Owain Glyndŵr. So out of all the Welsh princes, the modern nationalistic movement is basically, if there's one prince whose name is always uttered, it's always the name of Owain Glyndŵr. And during the 70s, in my youth, there was a strong Welsh nationalist movement, and basically they were known as the sons of Owain Glyndŵr, and the name of Owain Glyndŵr would be daubed all over the country as such.
Wales in the Middle Ages was a land of proud kingdoms and powerful leaders, among whom three princes stand out as symbols of Welsh independence: Llywelyn ab Iorwerth, Llywelyn ap Gruffydd, and Owain Glyndŵr. Llywelyn ab Iorwerth, known as Llywelyn the Great, ruled from the late 12th century into the early 13th century. He skillfully united much of Wales under his leadership through warfare, diplomacy, and marriage alliances. Llywelyn negotiated with English kings, notably King John, and secured recognition of his authority over other Welsh rulers. His reign marked a golden age for medieval Wales, with strengthened law and governance, as well as increased national unity. His grandson, Llywelyn ap Gruffydd, often called Llywelyn the Last, carried forward the dream of an independent Wales. In 1258, he declared himself Prince of Wales and gained widespread support among Welsh lords. However, tensions with England grew, and in 1277, King Edward I invaded, forcing Llywelyn to submit. Llywelyn continued to resist but was killed in 1282 during the Battle of Orwyn Bridge. His death marked the collapse of independent Welsh rule and led to the full conquest of Wales by Edward I, who built massive castles to enforce English authority. More than a century later, Owain Glyndŵr emerged to rekindle the spirit of Welsh resistance. In 1400, angered by English oppression and injustice, he declared himself Prince of Wales and led a widespread rebellion. Glyndŵr achieved early successes, capturing key castles and forging alliances with France and Scotland. He called the first ever Welsh Parliament and envisioned an independent Welsh church.
As we conclude our journey through the world of the Welsh princes, we are left with a powerful sense of their lasting legacy. These leaders, through courage, wisdom, and unshakable pride, helped shape the identity of Wales and kept alive the spirit of independence in the face of great challenges. Their stories continue to inspire, reminding us of a time when loyalty, honor, and the dream of a free Wales were worth fighting for. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of history, legend, and national pride. This is Time Stream. See you next time.